So this Friday marks my 10-year anniversary in the industry. Anybody here been here 10 plus years? I know I'm not the only one. 10 years in IT field, right? And I know y'all are shocked at like 25 with a really nice beard. Probably seen them covered in Men's Health. So, but 10 years in the industry this Friday, right? And it's been a pretty wild adventure. I started out in a Fortune 15 company doing medical sales right out of college. I actually went to Presbyterian right up the road. Anybody know Presbyterian College? I was a poor kid who went there. Went to the local Goodwill over Christmas break, bought a $5 pair of pants because I didn't have anything else to wear, to go interview at a Fortune 15 company and try to land a job. And tell them that I'm the guy they should hire to run a territory doing something I know nothing about, right? So fast forward, I've been here now 10 years in this industry. And it's been incredible. When I got hired, it was the day after Christmas, I got a LinkedIn message from a guy. And he's like, I know you probably can't spell IT, but I'd love to talk to you about IT. And I'm like, sure, man, I can do anything, right? Sales, whatever. So I jump in and we get interviewed and we go through the process. And I land a job with a startup company, right? And it was absolutely incredible. I learned a lot. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. And then Father's Day, 2016, we got any dads in the room? Any fathers? 2016, I'm with my two boys, Mark and Wyatt, my wife Jamie. We're in Blythewood where we live. We're in my in-laws' house. We're fishing. And this is awesome. I mean, Father's Day is one of my favorite days. I finally turn all my crap off for a minute. I spend time with the kids, and it's just relaxing, right? So we're fishing, and I remember my 11-year-old, he gets this catfish up to the bank, and the line snaps, right? Anybody fishing here? Fisherman? And he's like, Dad, it was huge. And I was like, how big? He's like this. And I grabbed his hands, and I was like, it was this big. And he's like, well, that's not true. And I'm like, when we fish, it's fine, son. Just don't say that at church on Sunday, but right now it's this big. So that was one of my favorite Father's Days, and it ended up being memorable for a lot of different reasons. I woke up the next morning, like every other day, and then about 10 o'clock, my whole world just rocked, okay? I'm in my truck, I'm heading down Highway 321 from Blythewood downtown for a meeting, and I get a phone call from my wife. And she says, hey, there's this really thick packet of paper that just showed up at our house, and it's got a law firm in Charlotte on the front of it. I think you need to come home and look at it. So I went from having one of the best Father's Days, loving life, being a dad, turning everything off, to opening a lawsuit the next day in 2016, okay? And I don't know about you guys, but I'm an achievement-driven individual. I love to go do things people tell me I can't do, like an elephant sitting in a tree, right? Like things that just don't make sense when people tell you can't do something. So I go home and open this lawsuit. And they claimed all these things I had done, and I was like, this is garbage. And it was an employer who said I broke a non-solicitation agreement, right? So we were a smaller company, got bought by a very large company, and they had a legal team. And they said, hey, we're going to sue a couple people. Here you go, you're one of them. So it rocked my world, and I thought I knew who I was, and I thought I really knew what I wanted to do. And I thought I was kind of climbing this projection, right, this path of where I wanted to go with my career, my life. I thought I was a really good dad, and I'm like, man, I'm a really good husband, just ask my wife. You know, and my grandfather was like, how's Jamie doing? It's my wife. And I'm like, we changed her last name to Duren. She couldn't be any better. He's like, you're an idiot, son. You haven't done anything. So it's been a lot of fun, right? And I think I'm doing all these things right, and then I just get rocked. Has anybody here ever been in a lawsuit? So you, all right. Sucks. And it's like jail. Everybody's innocent. And but I sat there, and it really made me look at who I was and what I wanted to do. So when David called me the other week, and he's like, hey man, we've got this group, ColaSec. We've got a lot of folks in here, security gurus and experts, and I'm like, that's not what I do day to day out. Like, I'm in sales, I work for ROVE. Marcus Jacoby, the president of the company's right here. Veteran-owned IT company out of Carolinas, and like I said, 10 years in the industry. And I said, but man, can we talk about some personal professional development and some of the other things that are ancillary around just the tech, right? Because the tech's fantastic. The tech has changed everything. But at the same time, it brings its own new challenges, right? And I remember sitting in David's office with him about 3 weeks ago, and I was like, man, how many folks in this room are going to be those people that have their phones on all night and they get those calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, they have to answer if they want to keep their job? He's like, probably some of them, right? And I'm like, well, how many of these folks in here are on 24/7? How many are in here probably just getting hammered? Because y'all remember when DOR got breached several years back? I got a phone call, right? So I was with another company, an integrator, and they said, hey, we got to get some data at rest encryption in here. And I'm like, cool, what's that? I'm like, just learning to spell IT, right? And so I'm standing there, they're like, hey, so data risk encryption, they walk me through, I'm like, cool, we got a solution for that. We're the only company that really had a solution at that time. And it was very, very expensive. So we went through this process, and I remember we had a certain amount of time to get all this stuff implemented post-breach. And I was actually skinny before that. I had hair like this thing it was just horrible, right? Governor level when Nikki Haley was here, and they knew who we all were. And so I'm watching technology, and I'm like, man, there's got to be something going on here. Like, we're pressing forward, pressing forward, pressing forward. But again, it taught me so much about the industry and what we do, right? So tonight, we're going to talk about some different things. I want this to be interactive, right? So I've known some of you guys for a while. You know we like to talk and cut up and have a good time. We can go as deep and as serious as we want to, or we can keep it light. I've got a PowerPoint here. It's a presentation. You guys are drinking. You might get loopy. It kind of moves around a bunch if you don't know that. But I'm going to hand these out too. These are some packets I made, right? So I have my own company called Care to Succeed, where I do some speaking and coaching, and I do workshops and run retreats. And what I wanted to do was bring some of that to you guys tonight, you guys and gals, and say, hey, look, this is how we look at things post-lawsuit, right? Starting to really understand more about who we are, what we're doing, beyond just the IT piece. So before we start with this, I'm going to ask this one question. Is anybody in this room, and I want you to be honest, if you feel like raising your hand, if you don't, that's fine. But if you ever get that point where you're like, man, is this all I do? I mean, damn. It's like, I get hounded, I get struggling, I get my ass kicked day in and day out, and sometimes it's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I just feel like it's what I'm supposed to do, or somebody's told me I'm supposed to do it. Anybody ever feel like that? So I guess nods. Okay, good. So we're going to have fun then. I'm going to stay. I'm not going to run outdoors. We'll have good fun. So, and what I want you to know is in this workbook here, you don't have to do anything. This is just for your own benefit if you want it. There's some sections in here, and I'll point them out as we go, and you're welcome to write in those sections. My whole platform is built around the idea of what does it mean to redefine success. Okay, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But I've got a quote here from Emerson in the front part about success. I'm not going to read it to you right now because you guys are all capable of reading. A little bit more of my background here and some of my contact information. And then what you'll see is the titles like the Why Are You Here? You'll start seeing some of these titles as we go through. You're welcome to just kind of follow along and write notes or things that jump out. Cool? Awesome. One promise I need y'all to make is if you have a question, ask it. You got a comment, nothing's off limits, open book, have some conversation. So
yeah, we don't raise hands here, so
just yell it out. Yell it out. So I chose this IT isn't all of it, right? To get us thinking beyond the technology. Right? 10 years in the industry is a lot of cool stuff, but we're built to do so much more. I love this picture of this elephant in the tree. Anybody seen this before? Like, who the hell sees an elephant in a tree, right? I'm like, man, that's kind of wild. It's kind of awesome. Like, can you imagine being an elephant? Somebody like, bet you won't get in that tree. And I'm like, bet you I'll try. Right? So follow along with me here. Let's see if this works. It's a little choppy. Oh. A couple things you need to know about me as we go. I tell people all the time I love Jesus, but I cuss a little. I believe each and every one of you has a unique set of gifts, skills, and talents. And I believe also that people are capable of great things. They often don't realize it, they don't believe it, or they're not supported in their pursuits of excellence and what they were designed to do. Does that resonate with anybody? No, not at all. Right. So that's where I'm coming from, right? Like, that's my heart. That's why I do what I do with this platform around Redefine Success. I think there's a lot of people walking around in empty suits. And by empty suit, I mean people who go do the same thing day in, day out, and they don't really know why they do it or why it matters. They don't think that it has an impact or that it can do anything to enhance anybody else's life. And they're walking around completely empty, right? That's where this comes from. And I'm sorry, I did not think or know that we're going to have a little bit of delay here, but bear with me. It's really cool and makes you kind of nauseous if it's fast. So if nothing else tonight, I want you to take away three things. I love telling stories. David said it earlier. I am all about telling stories, right? And if you have a story along the way tonight, start blabbering it out, let's talk. But I want you to recognize the value of your story. Number two, believe in the impact beyond what you do, internally and externally to your organization. And three, I put the word aloud. Since that lawsuit, I went real deep on LinkedIn. Everybody here on LinkedIn? Anybody on LinkedIn? Yeah. You are, I'd love to connect with you. It's one of my favorite platforms to talk to people. And I talk with people all over the world. And it's been amazing to be able to pull up a Zoom chat or something else and just say, hey man, let's talk for 20, 30 minutes. And we're working out time zones, and I'm like, where the hell do you live? Because I don't know where it is on a map. You know, I'm like, South Carolina public school education. And so, but it's been incredible. But what I found is like, no matter whether I'm talking to somebody in Singapore or Australia, Northern Africa, Canada, or somewhere in the States, there's this idea of being told who you are and what you're supposed to do, right? And in IT, I feel like we get very siloed. Anybody feel like they work in silos ever?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. So it's like, we were told, this is what you do. That's yours. You own that, nothing else. Don't touch anything else. Anybody in here know a teammate from another division, department, or team that says, hey, that's mine, get the hell away from it, don't touch it? Right? So I mean, it's like, what are we supposed to do?
I got the not mine.
Yeah. You ever seen that meme where the guys like the guys laying the stripes down on the road and there's a stick in the road and they go around it? You know, and it's like,
They go over the road.
yeah, it's like, come on, man. But this whole idea to allow yourself permission to redefine success, right? And we're going to dive into that one a little bit deeper too. Everybody good with me so far? We set the stage?
Yeah.
Okay. So, make sure it's up here. I'm a firm believer after talking to these people around the world, different countries, different geographies, different economical backgrounds, different status from relationships, married, single, divorced, everything in between, folks who have 5, 6 children, folks who are no children. I really haven't found anything that differentiates them, right? From the fact that somebody, somewhere, is telling them, if you do this, I will pay you and you can sleep at night. You put your head on a pillow, you can feed your family, or not, you can feed yourself. You have a place to pay rent, all these things, right? So they're trading time for money, right? And when they trade time for money, what they're being told is, here is my definition, my standard and expectation of success for you and your job. How many hours do we work on average in a week?
50.
Too many.
Are you asking for the normal number or the real number?
Minimum 40, technically, right? But I mean, like, how many in here have done 80-plus hour weeks, right? How many of you spent a holiday weekend doing a cutover? How many of you gotten on call on Christmas Day and you're like, what the heck, man, right? So it happens. So the idea here is like, we are all getting handed out definitions, standards, and expectations of success. The problem is we spend so much time in our jobs and our careers, right, that carries over into our personal lives, our relationships, and the way we do servant leadership and service to other people, right? It invades all those different aspects and areas. So we're going to come back to this a little bit more later, but I want to set the groundwork there. So this is the first page here. And again, I'm not going to call anybody out. If you want to write something down and share with the group, I'd love to do that. Like I said earlier, the name of my company is Care to Succeed. It stands for commit, appreciate, reciprocate, and equip. And then the number 2, because I don't think you're supposed to do any of this stuff by yourself, right? We don't do this stuff alone. Okay? See too many people try to take it by themselves and they end up going in one direction, beating their head against the wall and dying of high blood pressure and all this other stuff. So why are you here? This is kind of a big question, right? I told you about being sued back in June of 16. Fast forward to July 1, my lawsuit was over that following year. Okay, so about just over 12 months. I remember leaving church, and my wife and I drove separately. And I said, honey, I'm going to stay behind in the parking lot. I'm going to make some calls. I couldn't talk to my customers for a year. And I love building relationships with people that are bigger than just a deal or a transaction, right? Am I in sales? Sure. But you know what's more exciting than selling something is when you genuinely give a damn about a person and you have this relationship built and you go to bat for each other, right? And you go do things together. I've been to people's funerals, we've been to weddings, we get baby announcements, Christmas cards, like we live life alongside one another, right? So July 1, I stayed in the parking lot. I started calling customers after church. And I'm like, hey man, I know we hadn't talked in a year. I don't hate you. I'm still here. I'm not dead. They're like, you know, I should have heard some stuff. They're like, man, we heard you moved to Canada. You know, and it's like, no, I'm still in Blythewood. Close. It's north of Columbia. What else did you hear? Man, we heard you went back to school to do this, that. And I'm like, no, man, I'm still here. Just been in a lawsuit. Couldn't help anything. And I started working through it. And I looked at my wife. I said, do I have your permission to go get all of our business back and go do what I need to do to feed us? Because we starved for about 12 months. And she says, honey, you do whatever you need to do. And I took it to the extreme, right? Where my work became everything I did. So where I thought I was being a good husband and father and provider back, a year earlier on Father's Day, here I am going July 1 to just after Valentine's Day, and I hit the wall. I'm in the doctor's office, blood pressure's $160 over 100, my heart was racing 160 beats a minute. I'm ready to stab everybody. I was working for Marcus. Marcus knows that. I called him one day, and he was like, "Hey, man, we were on the same team. Pump the brakes, calm down." It was rough. So I found a coach, and I was like, "Hey, man, I need to talk to somebody and understand, like, what the hell am I supposed to do with my life?" I'm the oldest of 4 sons. Anybody here the oldest child in their house? You ever feel like a sense of responsibility in your home growing up? No? Okay. Man.
I was responsible to get out.
I was the one who felt like you had to do everything, right? And grow, and so like I carried it on. And then you go through this thing, and I'm like, damn, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm in the doctor's office thinking I'm about to die, right? And I'm calling Marcus like, "Hey, man, I'm going to be at work tomorrow, get the day off. You okay?" "Nope, dying. Got to go back." Dying. But it's this question that we all need to ask. And I'm not going to ask anybody's age, but I want to think about this for a minute. If you've been in this industry for more than 10 years, and you're at least 30 years old, anybody here under 30 can ask that? How old are you, man?
That's private information.
Somebody else wanted to
Wait,
serial
you
answer.
want how old I am really, or how old my LinkedIn says I am? 29.
There you go. Look, somebody asked for your social security number earlier. So it's all good. You trust me, we're all here.
1.
No, so I mean, it's like, if you've been doing this long enough, you understand what I'm saying. There comes a point where you got to ask yourself, what are you doing and why? All right, anybody here heard Simon Sinek? Get to why? I love that, right? I mean, it's amazing. He talks about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that's great, and you can write all types of banners and slogans and bumper stickers and make fun, like feel-good stuff. That shit only goes so far, because at some point you got to get in the bull crap and figure out what the hell you're actually supposed to be doing, right? So think about it. Why are you here? What are you supposed to be doing? It's a reflection piece, right? Sometimes you feel like this, but you got the potential to be way more, right? Make sense? With me? So that's your first "why are you here" page. So define success. What do you hear? So who is this gentleman right here? Bezos, right? I mean, some of us are older than you and know what it was like to see Bezos in '98, right? And he looks like the daggum Terminator 2 or 3 years ago. And I love this. He's like, "I sell books and I sell whatever I want." Called the Amazon effect, right? Who in here, let me do it this way. Who does not have Amazon coming to their house at least once a week? Right? Right? My wife, apparently they know where we live, and my wife gets stuff like 3-4 days a week. And it's crazy. We had to get one of those Ring doorbells. I was like, we have too many people coming to our house. I want to know who they are, but it's not really Amazon.
You know the Ring is Amazon.
I know. I know. She bought it. I just told her we needed something. So I'm like,
security vulnerabilities. Throwing that out there.
I told her, I was like, we're kind of screwed no matter what we do, so just get it. We live kind of out in the country, and I said it's better than that. So this idea, right? Now, who here has been told, like, this is, like, we look at success. Look at a guy like Bezos. Who in here thinks they're going to go from this to this, couple bazillion dollars, a divorce, lose half, and still be richest man on the planet? Like, who else? Rob, I know you're going to try it. But it doesn't always happen like that, right? Like, you don't have to go through this. People want to fantasize and like make it beautiful to think, oh, you have to struggle and go through this shit to get anywhere. No, man, you don't have to do all that. You don't have to be Jeff Bezos to be successful and find a way to make an impact, right? We on the same page? So I am going to pause right here for anybody who's got the notebook open. I do want to do this real quick. So it says, it'd be tragic if the treasure and talent within you was buried under the opinions and expectations of others. So real quick, because at the very end of this, I actually do something different. Just write down a couple words. If you said success is blank, what are you being told? I just want you to jot it down. You don't have to share it, but I just want you to write it in. We'll give you about 30 seconds. What is success, and what are people telling you it is? And you also write down who is telling you. They did tell me there's heat.
Yeah, they got it cranked. I was hoping, because it's February, it should be cooler in here, but that doesn't apply in this building.
Or South Carolina.
Exactly.
Is everybody in here inspiring to be the CIO of your organization?
Well, I wouldn't want that level of responsibility.
Nope. Anybody here trying to be the the top managing partner? I mean, we don't all have the same business goals either, right? That's the other piece of it, right? Titles and all this other crap gets pulled into it. We're gonna do an exercise in a minute. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about.
I aim to be the gray beard.
I saw that beard and I'm like, man, I got a little ways to go, but I'm trying.
Don't ask somebody else to try it. Yeah, almost half of it I cried.
I did that downtown. about
3
2
people
months
were
ago.
murdered that day.
Yeah.
The
My
guy-
soul bled.
The guy was doing it freehand, and I quit breathing. And he was like, man, you alright? I'm like, dude, I'm not exhaling until you're done. He's like, I'm not breathing either. Don't cut my damn beard, man. So, alright, so the next page is called Beyond IT. So I've been showing these pictures for 3 years because it still trips me out how far we've gone and the things that are directly impacting us. Right, so this right here is Tesla. Anybody following Tesla in the news right now?
Oh, yeah.
I got a buddy in California who is like on a mission. Every day I wake up, I'm like, what's my buddy Damon in California doing? And his Instagram story is all about Tesla, Ponzi scheme, fraud. Like he is dogging these guys. So maybe not the best example from that standpoint.
No, I sold all my stock in December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you do with your Tesla car though?
I don't have one. Because I sold my Tesla
He's got a
stock.
truck. He's got a truck.
Because I sold my stock.
Cybertruck.
I
Cybertruck.
ordered one now.
So again, the automation, we have customers here in the upstate. I've got one right now that's looking at Industry 4.0. And we're talking about how do we take this international German company who has a North American headquarters in Duncan. And they're like, how do we continue to move forward on this from our standpoint, right? The automation, the intelligence. Amazon Go, I can't wait to try one of these out. Where you walk in and you walk out and it's scary as hell. Like anybody else think that's just freaky? You're not anybody come in and be like, hey, are you doing all right? Can I help you with something? You know, I can't reach this thing on the top shelf. What do you do, right? It's just weird to think about. And they're going to know where you are. You're walking out. And then pizza. Who here likes pizza?
Oh, yeah.
I like pizza, just a little bit, right? Imagine getting the same pizza experience every time because it's being made by a robot with all the algorithms and everything else, so there's no deviation in your experience of pizza. I'd buy it. Just to be able to say I had a robot make me a pizza. My kids would think that was cool. Friday night, pizza night. Right?
Isn't that called Totino's?
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting when the robot apocalypse happens. I made one of you make me a pizza once.
They start making us make pizza.
Yeah,
It's
right.
gonna be amazing. And then who here likes beer? I know we have beer here tonight. All right, good. Glad you tell the truth. This truck right here has nobody driving it, right? So I watched the video of this. Anybody seen that? It was across Colorado. An unmanned truck did a beer delivery in Colorado. And it was crazy because the guy driving it was like watching him play like Atari, right? Atari's a game you should play back in the time. So he's sitting there, and the only time he uses it is if the truck gets in like town. The interstate, no problem. They get into a town, and I'm like, wouldn't you rather be driving on the interstate with nobody around in Colorado than going through downtown Denver, like trying? You know, it was weird. Here's the cool thing: the driver was like, I'm home at night. I'm not driving and beating my body to crap during the week, right? I get to see my family, and I get to work in an air-conditioned office and don't have to use truck stop bathrooms. Not a bad life for driving a truck, right? It's pretty incredible. Here's the only problem I have with it, man. And y'all can't see it very well here, but it says, there it goes. Like, I want my kids to be that generation doing this going down the road too, right? It's changing that too, right? Can you imagine going down the road? Yeah, can you imagine going down the road and doing this and you're like, Dad, there's nobody in there. And you're like, shut up, kid, it's fine. I'm trying to drive. He's like, there's nobody there. Right? So it's changing all around us. Which is interesting to me because what it means is we're on two sides of the same coin. And I think this is really cool for us as IT professionals, whether you're on the integrator space, whether you're twisting knobs, turning dials, CI, whatever it is, right? For the first time ever, we are heavy consumers and heavy innovators and producers. Can we agree on that?
Oh, yeah.
The Amazon effect, right? I gotta tell you, we walk into places and they're like, do you have an online portal? Can I point? They want Amazon. And I'm like, we're building highly complex solutions from scratch. Blah, blah, blah. They're like, I want it like this. It's changed everything, right? Has anybody gone to Amazon and tried to find something and not been able to find it? What or
God, it's gotta be. Only happens every once in a while. Usually textbooks, and then things that only are sold by like very small.
Really embarrassing Star Trek: The Next Generation merchandise.
so rare? It happens rare.
I didn't find that. Just during Commodore.
Oh, really? Give it a week. This video will go viral.
It wasn't on page 1.
Yeah,
It was.
but it's crazy,
It was
right?
to page 2.
So we're at a point where we're able to effect change that impacts countless folks in the day, and at the same time we're consuming it. Anybody here ever feel like you're in your office and your end users have no idea what you do?
Okay.
Anybody ever feel like, hey, end user, don't come bother me?
No. That never happened.
Nope.
It's pretty incredible to me that we have all this technology at our fingertips and we've been able to do this. Anybody ever feel like they're not making an impact on their organization?
I'm responsible for a multi-million-dollar data center, and I spend most of my time babysitting adults.
So when I was in healthcare, working for McKesson, we were selling EKGs and defibrillators and other things. I'll never forget. I got a
Do
phone
you have any
call.
old ones that you could bring in for us to play with?
I did, and we ended up sending it off to Africa.
Okay.
Somebody they needed a new hospital. But yeah, I kept everything I could. My wife still has like thermometers and gloves and stuff from 10 years ago. She's like, they don't go bad. And I'm like, So I get a phone call one day. And it's office manager in Lexington. He says, hey, we need a new defibrillator and I need one tomorrow. I'm like, all right, no problem. Can I just ask what happened? Do I need to replace it with a repair or warranty? She goes, we actually had to use one today, or yesterday, excuse me. We had to use one yesterday, and in the process of the chaos, we shocked the lady, and then it broke on the floor because we were rushing her into an ambulance, getting her out the door. And that was the first time in about 8 years of medical sales where I heard of something I sold to a customer being used to help save someone's life, right? And that was really interesting to me. I said, well, what happened to the lady? She eventually passed away, but they were able to keep her alive long enough for family out of town to come see her and say their goodbyes. I will never forget that. Because I was the guy at 24 years old going, I sell stuff when people get sick and I make money off of sick people. Like my mindset, it was just completely off, right? But I did my job, somebody else did their job, somebody else, and all of this chain, right? Think about the people who go back and build these things in the manufacturing plant. Think about the R&D that goes into this. Think about all this, the procurement that goes into this, and all the FDA piece. Like there's hundreds of people who touch that piece of equipment before it ever shows up in an office. And it was an impact that I never expected to hear about because I was like, I've never seen any of this stuff used. It's not important. You're doing the same thing today in your organizations, right? Who here thinks they have the largest organization in terms of end users? I don't know where everybody works. Yeah, you might.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And yeah. Internally and externally, mostly, the whole country. Absolutely, right? It matters. And when people say it doesn't matter, they're full of crap. They don't have to look deeper that next level to say, okay, well, what am I doing? How's it impact the person next to me, the next one? If I had a piece of string right now, and I stood here, and I had a 6-foot piece of string, and it was at this table, and you all packed around me, your heart has I think it's 1,200 times more energy pumping from it than your brain, okay? So, if you look at it, you heard this before?
No, I just know that most things are more powerful than my brain, so that's.
You and I are more alike. There we go. So it's the ability to impact people, right? And it's this whole thing. It's amazing how we're created and the ability to impact others around us. Think about that for a minute. One other thing about this that I love. All right, every quarter in the country you will see this gentleman here, right? George Washington, right? This is what's cool about this. This is an actual quarter, but I think I still have it in my pocket. I found this one the other day, right? With South Carolina on the back. What's cool about this, on a macro level, we're all tied together, right? This is us as consumers. On a micro level, we're on the other side of that coin producing. It's a hell of a way to look at it, folks. Thoughts, comments, questions? Let's keep rolling. Belief about gifts. I call it BAG. Who here believes they have their own unique set of gifts, skills, and talents?
Sure.
Right? Anybody ever done a Gallup test? Yeah. Strength finders? Yeah? You remember what you were by any chance?
I have my like 5 characteristic breakdown.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
You remember what they are?
Competitive, individualistic, harmony was in there, which was weird. And then 2 other things about like hating other people. I don't know.
You sound like a hippie.
Here's what's cool about Strength Finders and Gallup, right? They've tested over 1 million people. Now in that million, some people have had the same top 5, but never have there been 2 people that had the same top 5 in the same order. Over 1 million people tested, right? Think about that for a second. That's incredible.
Or it's broken.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I mean, might just be a good assessment.
But think about that for a minute, y'all. It's like the thumbprint, right? No two same identical thumbprints. It's incredible how like different we truly are, and at the same time have the ability to do some things that impact others when we come together. So I call it bag. If I were to do this for an illustration, let's say we had, and I want you to think about this. I had 1 bag and I didn't tell you what was in it, right? Then I had another section that had 2 bags and I didn't tell you what was in these 2 bags. Then I had another section over here on the table with 5 bags. All right? And I looked at you, David, I'm gonna do this. I said, David, you can pick the 1 bag, the 2 bags, or the 5 bags. Where do you immediately want to go?
5 bags.
Why?
Quantity is better.
Quantity's better, right? So David walks around with 5 bags. Marcus, which would you pick? 1 or 2? 2. So Marcus walking around with 2 bags. 2 bag Marcus, 5 bag David. Eli, you're stuck with 1 bag. Here's what's funny. We walk around looking at how many bags, right? So first inclination. What if there's nothing in that bag? What if those 5 bags don't have anything in there? Or what if the things in those 5 bags don't match up to who you are and what you do, right?
What if each of those bags is filled with 6 pounds of dirt?
I almost did that illustration, didn't want to dig. It's kind of like that. But you think about it,
Carrying
right?
around 30 pounds of dirt, dude.
I found people. I had a lady last year, she came to me, she said, I want you to coach me for 90 days. She said, I want to build my own company. I want to leave the organization I'm with. I need you to coach me for 90 days. She was turning 50, and she was kind of that point in her life. She's like, I want to do something different. She was not in technology. She didn't understand anything that she did, how it impacted other people out in Texas, right? So the first call we had, I said, all right, 1 hour. You tell me your story from the day you were born to now at 49 and some change before you turn 50. She's like, my story's horribly boring. I said, that's not what I told you to do. I said, please tell me your story from start to finish, whatever you want to share in 45 minutes to an hour. Okay? I took 12 pages of notes. And on the left-hand side of the margin, she wanted to have her own speaking company, coaching, and consulting. I wrote down things she said that made me think this could be a keynote topic or a workshop or something that might resonate in an open forum. In the middle of the page, I wrote things that hit me between the eyes, like, man, I want to hear more about this, or it resonated with me. The right-hand side of the page was people I wanted to connect her with, that would do more networking. So we got done, and she was like, I hate you had to listen to my story for an hour. And I was like, look, I took 12 pages of notes. You have an incredible story. But nobody ever told her that, right? Her title at the organization she was with was way down here. And she was approaching 50 years old. She thought she'd done everything she could, and it didn't matter, right? 6 months later, she left her job, started her own company, and has been very successful working with other business executives in the greater Dallas area to build out their companies around building relationships and customer service. But nobody believed in her or told her she could do it. She had a belief about her gifts. Some people are going to have 5 bags of gifts, some people are going to have 1. But having 1 is incredibly enough. So Eli, raise your hand. Eli's another sales rep on our team. Eli's the most technical sales rep I've ever worked with. And operationally minded. I'm chaos, right? Yeah. Like you can put a child in my back seat. It's disgustingly messy and I don't put things up. Right? I don't have that gift. I don't have y'all's gift on the technology side. But the gifts are different and they matter. Right? Everybody in agreement?
Yeah.
Alright, here we go. So, I want you to go back to, there's a page here that says rEDefine success. Okay? So if you have a book out, I'll give you 30 more seconds here. If you look back at what you said success is at the very beginning, and you think about it, is there anywhere that you could see, let me rephrase that. Is there anything from your original definition that you know you can change that does not align with what you believe to be successful in your life? We live life in 4 buckets. Talking to everybody around the world, doing my research, talking to clients, coaching clients, being in this business, working with thousands of customers. We live in 4 buckets. You have your personal life, you have your work life, you have your relationships, and your service to other people. The problem is you're one person, right? We try to bucketize it, and it's a problem. You have to integrate all these things. The definitions and standards, expectations at work can't be different than who you are personally or in your relationship. Former CEO of Coke, there's a video out there. It's a 30-second clip. He talks about juggling 5 balls of life, okay? Only one of them's your career. The other one's your family, your health, spirit, and I forgot the other one. But he's like, you juggle these things, the career ball's rubber. If it hits the ground, it'll bounce back up. There's always work to be done. But these other 4 are made of glass. And if you start juggling and you drop one of those, you lose your family, you scuff up relationships, your health goes to crap. Those are the important ones, right? And I thought, man, that's a hell of a way to look at it. We live it in one section, and how many hours do we work a week? We said 40 plus, right? Mark, you got a calculator. What's 40 hours a week times 50 weeks a year? Because 2 weeks vacation, maybe. Times 40 years, so that's 80,000 hours. It's a lot of time in one place for somebody to tell you who you are, what you should do, and why you should do it. So, last page. What would you do? Anybody know who this gentleman right here is without looking at his name? Jackie Robinson. Some phenomenal quotes from this man. Life is not a spectator sport. My dad told me that growing up, and I was like, Dad, you're weird. Don't tell me things like that. That's not cool. Life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in the grandstand just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you're wasting your life. That lawsuit was the worst, the best worst thing that happened to me, right? And I've met a lot of people who had a lot of worse things happen to them. But it changed my complete outlook and mindset on what I'm supposed to do and what I'm able to do through what I do in this industry and beyond, right? So I want to encourage you with this. If there's something in your life where you're like, everybody's telling me who to be and what to do. You have passions and desires and things you want to go trace and try, and you're terrified how to do it, allow yourself permission to think about it. Not every idea is a great idea. People say all the time, what do you want to do? And I'm like, it's not what you want to do, it's what you're supposed to do. I want to do a lot of things. Some of them would get me arrested. Like driving 100 miles an hour down the interstate, right? And, stabbing people when I get angry. So there's certain things that get you in trouble. But the question is, what would you do? So to close out, I want to say thank you guys and gals for letting me come in tonight. I know this is very different than what you probably see on a monthly basis. David, I hope this helps a little bit. Whether you're looking at the next step in your career, whether you want to be a better husband, father, mother, whatever it is, right? There's a lot of these things we don't work on as individuals, and we just keep on saying, I'll get to it tomorrow, I'll get to it tomorrow, I'll get to it tomorrow, right? And it doesn't always work that way. I want to leave you with one more thing. If you go to my website, evansduren.com, I wrote an ebook, it's a free download. If you get to a point and you feel like life is monotonous, it's boring as hell, I'm doing the same thing day in and day out, kind of going in a cycle. I wrote a book about a guy named Paul. Paul wakes up every morning, looks in the mirror, and it's the same thing day in and day out. Nothing changes. It's dull, it's boring, everything he thought he would do one day. He thought he would be important, he thought he'd be significant. He tried to meet everybody else's expectations, and he's found his life going a completely different direction until some other people grab him and pull him back up. Some of my stories in there. There's other people I met along the way. I met multi-millionaires who are the most miserable people on the planet. I've met people who have 4 cars, 3 boats, 2 houses, and all that stuff. They've lost their wife and their kids. Right? I had a guy call me 2 weeks ago. He read the book, and I was on a podcast with another gentleman, He interviewed me on his podcast. He said, hey, I want you to go talk to Evans. Go read the book, call him. Guy calls me, he says, man, I know this sounds really weird. Do you ever feel like you were born to do something important and big, but then maybe you were just wrong and maybe you're normal and average like every other person out there? And I started laughing. He's like, why is that funny? Why are you laughing? It's like, I'm not laughing at you, man. I get it. Been through the same damn thing, right? And it's not uncommon. So if you'd like to read it, it's there. It's the first in a multi-part series. It's a free download. Just go to the website. I won't spam you, I promise. You have to sign up through a MailChimp. That's just so I have some idea of where it's resonating, where it's not. My contact info is in the booklet. You're welcome to call me. If you guys ever want to go through this together, just say, hey, Evans, we connected over at ColaSec. I'm happy to jump on a call and walk through things. If you got questions, hear from other people. And I just really appreciate you, David, and the team allowing me an opportunity to come in and share something that's important to me on my heart. That's not just the technology. Technology's cool, don't get me wrong. But it's got all the people around that makes it work, right? So, any thoughts, questions, comments, anything we want to discuss before I turn it back over to you guys? No? Awesome. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
very much.